In most dictionaries, the first meaning listed for bluegrass refers to a bluish-green grass frequently grown in Kentucky. The second meaning usually refers to a type of country music. So let's find the first follow-on sentence as we typically do. Q. You won't hear that style at any of the other dozens of traditional bluegrass festivals. Okay, I assume that style refers to bluegrass country music, but that doesn't look like a follow-on sentence for the first. U. The connection between these two meanings is a band called the Bluegrass Boys. That sounds like a natural fit because two ideas or meanings of the word bluegrass were introduced in the topic sentence. One, for a type of grass grown in Kentucky, and two, for a type of country music. So the connection between those two meanings is a natural follow-on fit. And the connection is a band called the Bluegrass Boys, named in honor of the state of Kentucky, whose leader, Bill Monroe, effectively created this style of music. Let's just quick check SRT. If on the other hand suggests a following sentence or transition from another, so that won't be our second sentence. Included among the non-amplified strings will be guitars. No, that sounds like a more detailed example. The traditional rapid-fire bluegrass sound that was Monroe's trademark is played, well, we don't know who Monroe is at this point if this were to be the second sentence. But that said, it looks like it's a natural third sentence or second follow-on sentence to you, which we just placed as our first follow-on sentence. Because in that sentence at the very end, Bill Monroe, the leader of the band, was introduced for this style of music, bluegrass. The traditional rapid-fire bluegrass sound was Monroe's trademark, is played on non-amplified string instruments, and features free improvisation. So this sentence T actually continues and details what is bluegrass and identifies with Bill Monroe, introduced in U, as the trademark or founder of the bluegrass sound. So, we're now down to our last three sentences, Q, S, and R. What is likely to follow that? You won't hear that style at any of dozens of other traditional bluegrass festivals. If, on the other hand, either the instruments or the music is non-traditional, or R, included among the non-amplified strings will be guitars, banjos, mandolins, fiddles, but never drums or accordions. In T, the bluegrass sound that was Monroe's trademark is played on non-amplified string instruments. Well, included among the non-amplified string instruments seems like a natural follow-on. It's connecting the idea of non-amplified string instruments that define this music, and then R details what are those particular types of instruments. Included are guitars, banjos, mandolins, fiddles, etc. But never drums or accordions. If, on the other hand, we're now down to Q or S, which is a 50-50 proposition again, Q is you won't hear that style at any of the dozens of traditional bluegrass festivals. Well, I'm not sure why, if that's the traditional bluegrass sound from Bill Monroe, so I don't think Q fits. S, on the other hand, says if, on the other hand, a transition from the bluegrass or non-amplified sound seems to fit in nicely. If, on the other hand, after seeing an example of the bluegrass sound, either the instruments or the music is non-traditional, the music may be called newgrass. And Q sums that up or follows that. You won't hear that style, referring to newgrass, I assume that refers to newgrass, at any of the dozens of traditional bluegrass festivals held each year across the United States. Well, obviously, you probably hear something more akin to the Bluegrass Boys and Bill Monroe. I like the ordering of this paragraph. Let's move on to the fourth. Great job so far. We're more than halfway done. Let's dig into number 4. In the 1880s, John Wesley Powell, an explorer of the Grand Canyon and director of the United States Geological Survey, led the development of the first topographical maps of the United States. So what would be a good follow-on to that? S. Contour lines indicate the slope of the land. No, that sounds more detailed and perhaps an example. So further down, not the first follow-on sentence. Q. This is because streams cut into the land, so contour lines, again, it sounds like a detailed follow-up on contour lines. T. If the lines are close together, the elevation, well, the lines I assume refers to contour lines, but again, that's not really described in the first sentence. U. Also called topo maps, these maps differ from others in using thin brown lines called contour lines to connect points of equal elevation. Well, okay, I assume the topo maps is a reference to and follow-up on topographical maps, and also indicates that they're called or named topo maps for short, and that's an immediate follow-on to the initial sentence. So I kind of like you there. Let's just quick check our last sentence. Waterways such as streams are usually marked in blue on topo maps, but even if they were not, the presence of one could still be identified using contour lines. Now that wouldn't be the immediate follow-on. So now we have we have a sentence that talks about John Powell, who first developed the topographical maps. U indicates that they were also called topo maps and introduces to us contour lines that connect points of equal elevation. So what would follow that? S, Q, or T for our second follow-on sentence? Well, between them, S, contour lines, indicate the slope of the land as well, I think fits in already right there in the second follow-up spot quite well. Because if we're introducing contour lines in U, S indicates one thing that contour lines do. It's a more detailed example of U and what contour lines are used for. Let's just check Q, T, and R once more. This is because streams cut into the land, so contour lines? No. If the lines are close together, the elevation is changing rapidly? No, that doesn't sound right. Waterways such as streams are usually marked in blue? No. I think S is the best follow-on because it continues with the idea of contour lines introduced in Q and begins by telling what contour lines indicate the slope of the land. So what's the natural follow-up on that from Q, T, and R? This is because the streams cut in the land? No, that doesn't make sense. If the lines are close together, the elevation is changing rapidly. I think that works quite well because contour lines indicate the slope of the land, so T is a natural follow-on explaining how contour lines indicate the slope of the land. If those lines are close together, the elevation is changing rapidly. In other words, the land is very steep. Whereas if they're widely spaced, they depict a gently sloping terrain. So this tells how contour lines indicate the slope of the land, T. So I like that follow-on to S. And that really leaves Q and R, and we're down to a 50-50 decision at this point, which is the fourth and which is the fifth follow-on sentence. Let's check Q to see if that follows. This is because streams cut in the land, so contour lines will turn upstream. We haven't introduced the idea of streams yet, so I'm not sure how Q follows T or any of the ideas presented to this point in the paragraph. So let's check R. Waterways, such as streams, are usually marked in blue on topo maps. This sounds like a better follow-up to T because it's introducing waterways and streams and it connects them to the topo maps. They're usually marked in blue. But even if they were not, the presence of one could still be identified using contour lines. Not sure how it would be identified using contour lines, but it is at this point. So we're referencing back the idea of contour lines developed in T in the earlier sentences, and we're introducing how waterways can be used, or the idea that they could be. We're not really told how yet. Q actually begins to tell us how. This is because. It's a good transition, whereas this is the idea that streams can be identified even absent the presence of blue lines on the topo maps. They can be identified with contour lines. This is because streams cut in the land, so contour lines, continuing that idea, will turn upstream, cross the waterway, and return downstream, creating a V shape with a V pointing upstream. So from that V pattern of contour lines, we're told that's how we can determine the existence of a waterway or stream even without the blue line present. So I like Q following R. Our decision, our 50-50 decision, seems pretty clear, and I then like the outline of this paragraph fairly well. Let's move on to the next. We're almost there.